Alright, I am back with another integral film type video. Polaroid, in this case, going to be Instax Square. And on this episode, we're going to cover the Magny 35, which you see right here. It's based off a design from the 60s, which used a Nikon. I think they even had a Canon version, but it basically used mirrors, and it bounced to a peel apart Polaroid, and in the process lost a ton of light. Of course, I think even then they had access to 3000 speed peel apart, so dropping a bunch of stops isn't nearly as bad as in this case. They don't drop nearly as much light, but they're starting with 800 ASA, which is what Instax is. So I'll get into all that here in a minute, but let's first, this came from Hong Kong. It was a Kickstarter, and I think they even did Indigo, and they've made it for a number of different mounts. I don't have it written down in front of me, but just off the top of my head, I know there was Leica, there was Canon, Nikon, of course. I can't remember that. Maybe there was a Contax. Anyway, you can check out, they have a Indigo link still up. I'll put up the link, but it only worked for certain models because, of course, they didn't want to make a whole bunch of different doors. In this case, we have here the, oops, kick my camera. We have the FN, FE, FM2, FE2, FA, and FM3A, which I assume all use the same door. In my case, I have the mighty FM3A. So without further ado, I will open it up, and just to be honest, I've actually already opened this up and installed it and shot with it because I wanted to be able to tell you about it. But this is how it comes. I put it all back how it was. Instruction manual, which is somewhat lacking. I mean, I guess I should come to expect that from things from China, but yeah, I'll get into what I mean about the lacking part, but yeah, there it is. This is going to be the base that all of them have. This is the back, as we normally would call it, that spits out the Instax out of here. It does have a dark slide. This is plastic, but this is metal where it attaches to for good reason, because the cameras are heavy, you know, and it supports it. It does have a tripod socket which faces the front of the camera. That has a battery slot, which I'll get into. I've already passed up the... This is where you hit the to eject a picture, and this tells you how many pictures. There's the logo. I'll take this apart in a second. And then this is the actual back for an Nikon, which of course it says. Let's open this bad boy up if I can remember how. Alright, get rid of the box. And I gotta say, they did a really good job of just, you know, making the door match what was already on there. So there it is. There's the, like, major lens there. And there's another one there. But I mean, I think this is the major part of the lens. I forget how many elements they said it is. I want to say 4, but yeah. And as you can see, if we turn it over, yeah, here it has the little pin that goes up and down, which we'll get into here in a second. So I will move the box out of the way if I can do it without hitting my camera. I'm just using my light box. So that is a chore. Let's see if we can readjust this to how I had it. There we go, before I kicked it. Alright, so first we're going to put the back on. Here is just like most 35 millimeters, you kick open the door, and you will see right, I've got some white seals on here that I put on, but you can see right there, you just hold that down with your fingernail and it comes off easy enough. Saw some other videos where they kind of struggled with installing this thing. but I managed to put it on fairly easily. And again, that has the little guy right there. Of course, I say that now, I'll probably struggle, but let's see how it goes. I'm trying to keep that in there while using my eyesight, which isn't going too well. Kind of hard to do it in front of the camera here. Let's see. Oh yeah, it'd help if I attached the right part. I wasn't looking right. There, I think we're almost there. There we go. All right, and it just closes like normal, nice and solid. And one thing about the instructions I mentioned is they didn't mention what the various dots mean. This part here doesn't have any dots. You'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute. We will put that aside, and I will show you the inner workings of here. Let's see. Here we go. Here's the first dots. See that little guy there? Hopefully you can see it. It's a little, yeah. So there it is. And there's a little mark on here so that when you go to install it, you want to match those up and then turn. It does click. If you do it wrong, if I were to spin this around to the other side, it doesn't actually click locked. It does. They all have the same kind of holes, so there isn't one of the things where there's only one way to put this on. And I guess it wouldn't be the end of the world if this, well, I guess it would be, because it wouldn't be square. So yeah, you want to make sure and have that on. This is actually going to be the front of the camera. And so anyway, we'll take this apart to have a look. This is, again, just a metal bayonet type deal. And here we have the really cool dark slide, which comes in handy. That way you can practice with your, even if it's attached, you can practice with your flash or whatever. Or they did actually sell these separately, so you could have bought a couple. And what's also cool, I'll get into in a second. And there's more on that dot. We'll cover that when I go to attach it to the camera. So anyway, we will put this back on and we'll look for the mark. There it is. Look for the other dot. Oh, I lost my mark. Where did it go? There we go, after a few spins. Okay, so time to put in the batteries, which is another kind of issue I had. Just, I think, with what you would call tolerances or quality control or whatever have you. The door comes off here. It takes four triple A's, rather, if I can get them the right direction. All right. Well, that one didn't. And you will notice, probably not easy to see here, but this has fairly good tension on it spring-wise. But when I go to install the next row, there's hardly any tension, which at first I couldn't get it to come on. And the little metal tab, I've already looked, is way down in there. It's not something I could easily get to with a tool to try and, but you can kind of see, like, it literally just kind of drops. It's not really a lot of tension, doesn't build a lot of confidence, but it did stay powered up once I got it going. So one cool thing about the dark slide is when it's in, it doesn't let you take a picture, which I can only wish I had on my other Polaroids, because I have wasted more than a few pictures, especially a peel apart where I haven't opened my lens. It's not so much the back, but not opening my lens and then taking a picture and pulling it, and then realizing when it's all dark that I never opened the lens, or I guess, which in this case wouldn't help. But anyway, it has a way to check whether this is in here. If we open this, hopefully it'll, there it went. See, it just, it's flashing two little lights to let you know no film is in there. But as soon as you put this back in, it cuts off. And it did say in the instructions that if you leave the dark slide out, it will power off. Okay, I am back. I think maybe I solved it. I just pressed on the door. Again, it's not something you want to have to do, but anyway, I think it thinks now that there's a new pack in there. Let's see if it spits the picture out. There we go. And this is one I've already taken. All right, so and I just exposed a picture because I didn't have the dark slide in there. Awesome. Whoops. Okay. So anyway, we'll leave that one in there. I'll spit it out here in a minute for you. Of course, I didn't think about how I had to have the dark slide off to press the button. Live and learn. All right, so another part of the dot kind of fiasco, as I call it, is that it has a little mark here, which near as I can tell you face to the back of the camera, and you can kind of see where I've kind of messed with it a bit, but and I twisted the wrong part. There we go. And it doesn't lock in or anything like that. So, and you would think it would go further down in there. I think I have that right. Pretty sure I do. But that is it. It doesn't, like I said, when you're walking around sometimes it seems like you're kind of worried about it coming off. At least I am. But it did work okay out in the field. So that is it. I wanted just to make some observations about using it. As far as, why you would want to use it. As opposed to like just a SQ6. And the most obvious things are things like you can set the speed of the shutter, the aperture. You can of course switch lenses and their quality optics. You can, here I set the ASA, and again I had mine at 64 instead of the recommended 100. That way you have a meter, pretty accurate meter through it. You can use a flash or even remote flashes, several of them like in the studio, that type of thing. Yesterday I just used the one in the field. It worked great. And you might wonder how, when you're looking through this, it's obviously framed for 35 millimeter aspect ratio instead of square. So basically when I look through it, there's the giant circle on Nikon on this one anyway, and I just framed it for a little bit outside that, but it is dead in the center, which is good. My other conversion that I have, the Instax, is all the way on the side, so you have to frame from the side over, but here it's right in the middle. Oh, one thing I mentioned earlier is if you leave this out, if you leave the dark slide out, I'm not going to pull it out right. Well, I mean, I guess I could. It's not really going to matter. It won't no light. But if you leave it out, the manual says that it powers down after 5 minutes. So, that's good. And let's see. Oh, I did want to mention, whoops, knocked my light over, that usually I have a strap on here, just a shout out to Gordy Straps. These are great straps. They're nice and thick. I opted for a wrist strap on mine because I figured this bad boy is going to be a little heavy. Don't want to drop it. So normally I have that on there. I just took it off for this video. But yeah, that is it. The Magni 35. The sun is supposed to come out here in Austin in a couple of days. So look on my Instagram. It's real easy to find. I'll put a link. It's just Jerry Milton. My name on Instagram. I post a lot of Polaroid peel apart, 600, Instax. I also shoot a lot of music. So until next time, check you later.